The Healing Through Love podcast with Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson. Shelby Avann discusses the different attachment styles that people struggle with during sex and intimacy in episode 92.
So I have, it's an intimacy checklist. So it's a yes, no, maybe list. So you get to pick, I have two columns in there. One is for emotional intimacy and one is about physical intimacy. So you can, print it off. You could just look at it and assess yes, this is a yes, this is a no, this is a maybe, would I like to give or receive? Those are the options on there. It's very simple. So it can just be something that gives you different ideas and then you can share it with a partner if you want to. It can be a discussion type of thing. So it's really, obviously I hope that people have a discussion if they're going to print it off and utilize it, but you can also kind of just print it off and sneak it over here and be like, yeah, here's the thing. Take a look at that.
I love that. I love it. And of course, we are only talking to consenting adults here and seek other advice elsewhere. All right.
The Healing Through Love podcast with Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
Welcome to another episode of Healing Through Love. Each week, we share ideas, experiences, and resources to increase the awareness of domestic and family violence and to empower survivors to grow and thrive. We talk with experts who share their advice, or with people who have experienced abuse, no matter where they are on their journey. This is all about healing through love. And now, here are your hosts, Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to the Healing Through Love podcast. I'm your host, Sharlene Lynch from sharlenelynch.com. Healing Through Love is here to help victims and survivors of domestic and family violence find their way back to living a more meaningful and fulfilling life. We interview experts and survivors who share their personal stories and offer advice to those who've experienced abuse no matter where they are on their healing journey. As well as the Healing Through Love podcast, we hold annual Pamper Days here in Adelaide, South Australia for survivors of domestic and family violence. Local businesses come together and pay it forward by providing their services and resources for a day to give our survivors a much needed day of indulgence. Think day spa on steroids. We're looking for organisations and people who have similar values. So get in touch with us if this sounds like a match. I'm pleased to say that in 2023, so last year, Healing Through Love went global and we now have 8 beautiful Pamper Days situated all over the planet. So we're excited to be helping these girls and guiding them forward. Each week we have amazing guests and this week is no different. We have Shelby with us. Now she is a relationship and intimacy coach and Reiki healer. She helps women to create deep emotional intimacy with their relationships, heal codependency and loneliness. Shelby loves bleeding the realms of spirituality and science for her coaching and healing. She is especially passionate about the topic of sex, nervous system regulation and attachment styles and energy. Hello and welcome, Shelby.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for the intro.
It's lovely to have you here. What led you to sex?
Well, I've always actually been very interested in the realm of sex and sexuality, and with I think kind of the whole cycle of life, to be honest, because what I actually did before going into my coaching was I was an equine midwife. So I brought baby horses into the world and I got to deal with a lot of the birthing side of things. Some of the repro stuff, but where I was actually doing most of my work, it was bringing the babies into the world. So I really, really love doing that. So I love that side of the cycle of reproduction. But then on a personal level, I really, really found it very interesting to learn about sexuality and the empowerment that we could have within letting that sexual energy come up and it throughout us, and how sex can be empowering, especially if there's been situations where you felt very disempowered, how we can claim it and take it back. So I really, really liked that was more so like later on that I kind of like really came to that. But I've just always been really interested in the realm, the whole circle of life aspect, I guess.
I love that. I love that. Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, it's a fact of life, and it is, as you say, it is the circle of life. And for many of our audience, it is a challenge for them.
Mhm.
The trust is gone for some,
Mhm.
and it's hard to get back. It's such a foundational frequency, and also safety. Can we dive into having a look at trust and safety and what that might look like, how we would regain trust and regain safety?
Mhm. Yeah, well, I think, so I think when it's hard because it's so like all this is so delicate type stuff. Um, but so some of what I do, or my base is actually with in attachment theory. So a lot of the ways that we like feel later on in life have to do with attachment style. And so the way that we've grown up and some of the experiences and then like those negative, really, sometimes really bad experiences that could be abusive, can lead to us continuing habits that we know, even though they're not healthy for us later on in life. So we can keep getting ourselves into like troubling situations, which sucks. But until we know the difference, until we know that we can change that, it's like we're kind of stuck in that pattern. So um, I think just to say, like, once we start to recognize what our attachment is and how our patterns start to affect us, and if we know that we're, like consistently pushing aside our trust in self, then we're going to keep bringing on the same patterns that aren't helpful for us. So the way that we can start to do that is to say, like, hey, I'm starting to notice in my body that something's gone awry. I'm feeling anxious. My body, like my stomach's upset. I'm not feeling good. Um, Something's off. Like I can't put my finger on what it is, but something just doesn't feel good to me right now. And starting to listen to that and creating that trust in our intuition and in ourselves, that would be one of the first stepping stones to be able to kind of start to make that shift. And they come in very, very small steps, but they're simple steps. But significant when we're able to actually start to do them.
I love that. So it's basically we're saying that it starts with a level of awareness. And the
Yeah.
challenge is when we're talking about sex, there's all hormones and everything's going all over the place. And we don't necessarily have that capacity to connect to self whilst we're in the throes of everything that's happening there. Let's face it,
Mhm.
our blood runs to different organs. So,
Yes.
so then I suppose my question is, if we've got an issue with trust and safety, is it good to practice with ourselves to sort of have that opportunity to have the level of awareness so that you get it right when you're with a partner?
Yeah. Yes, of course it is. Um, and this is kind of like a journey that I've been going on myself this past year or so, which is to learn what self-consent looks like. So how have I been treating my body? And this doesn't even have to be regarding sex at all. This could be like, am I listening to my body? So today, for example, I noticed that I have not been listening to my hunger. I have not been feeding myself right. And I can feel my energy dipping and changing and different, like my body's having different reactions because I haven't been eating properly. So starting to notice things like that. When it comes to pleasure, starting to notice, how, if you're doing like a self-pleasure session, for example, like what stages do you need to go through to be able to actually allow yourself to feel that pleasure come through? Is the goal actually to orgasm, or is the goal to just explore and find things that are pleasurable for your body? Because especially when there's like big traumas involved, putting a goal on your pleasure, like orgasm, that's not usually necessarily the best thing because it just puts all this pressure on you and it doesn't work well. It can get you back in, like put you in your head, not in your body. It can take you back to somewhere which is not good and is not like will make you shut down. So yeah, so it's like learning what your body is actually saying to you. So um like some things that I've noticed just for myself is that sometimes I'll just move too fast with myself, or I'll be using like something that's too stimulating. I need something softer. And it's just like, what does my body actually need here? And am I creating anxiety in myself? Am I trying to push myself? Like, how is my body responding to what it is that I'm doing? So really starting to take notice of, again, body sensations. What is happening? What is your body trying to tell you? Start to try to listen and hear, because like our body is giving us signals all the time as for, this is good, this is not so great, let's shift over this way. So just start to listen to it.
I love it. Again, with the awareness. And I love that, because I think every journey starts with that level of awareness. So I suppose, mostly sex, intimacy is with partners. So do you work with couples? Like, how does that work? Or do you work with the individuals? Yeah.
I work with individuals. Partners have different issues come up, like more than likely they're opposite issues. So again, if I like going back based into my attachment theory type stuff, usually I'm working with a partner or two partners. One's going to be more anxious, one's going to be more avoidant, and that calls for like different types of steps. Ultimately, they kind of, I guess, are similar stepping stones to where we need to go, because in both cases, people need to need to learn how to be more vulnerable and honest with themselves, and stop either like people pleasing or being able to accept help. But it's different. It's different steps. And then sometimes I find that when I don't know, I just find it harder to be able to kind of wrangle couples if they're in the same session too, because then it can kind of get into like, blaming and shaming, or they're not going to be quite as honest as they really can't want to be. And so they need that safe space with one person to be able to do that.
It would be a great world if couples wanted to be that level of open together at the same time. I'm newly married, only been married next week or 2 weeks from now, I'll be a year. So I think it's different for us because we're so new to each other and so new to being married. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. So you see people in couples relationships, but you see them one at a time. Yeah, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and to be honest, I feel like a lot of the time, one half of the partnership is usually ready to do the work and the other person might not be ready. So it also works well, because even if only one person wants to do the work right now, they'll start to make these positive shifts, and they'll start to learn, like either the partner is going to be like, oh, I see the changes. This does seem to be helping. This does seem to be healthy, and I want to do the work too. Or it's going to show that the partnership isn't really where it needs to be for this person that I'm working with to continue on. So it's going to help either way, but it's just, yeah.
I love it. Okay. So I suppose being a woman, we sit around and talk about all sorts of things. It's just what we do. And I notice that guys don't talk about the same sort of stuff. Is that in deep conversations with other women, I've noticed that they don't even know that they're not even having good sex. Like they don't even know, because that's all they've ever known. And so how do we get that information to the rest of the world, that there's a vast difference between great sex and good sex? And I suppose we see it on television and and the movies and everything else. But I suppose for some people, they don't even think that they can have that level of great sex because they've never had it, and they don't know that you can. They might think their body is shaped differently, or that they just don't have the capacity to have that level of amazing. So how do we let the world know that there is such a thing as great sex?
Well, we do this. We have these talks. Yeah, it's hard. I find it a bit of a tricky subject, to be honest, because it can be so taboo for people that it's hard. It can be hard to like spread the word of what is good and positive and healthy and amazing about sex. But like, I don't know, just offering the different types of platforms that we offer and having more conversations and creating like groups and spaces where people can safely talk about this stuff without judgment is really, really important. But yeah, like, looking up different podcasts and things, just starting there is a great
excellent
starting point.
I love that. I love that, because that's safe. No one knows that's what you're listening to.
Yeah.
And so you can indulge in that and dive deeper into that subject. Yeah, but here's a message for our listeners, is that if you don't You can have amazing sex. It is
Mhm.
possible for everybody, regardless of what you think is happening.
Yeah.
And you know, if you have come from trauma, and you know that I have, and so has Rose, that it is possible to get to the other side and for life to be amazing at the next level, and very intimate, and all of your wishes and desires to come true. But you need to work with something like Shelby. It's not something, you can't really read a book and sort this one out
Yeah.
and listen to the podcast to create that level of curiosity. But you need to have the beautiful conversations and follow a process like Shelby offers to help you get to that deep intimacy, first of all with yourself, and then obviously with a partner, and that know, like, and trust, and that safety that you need to have so that you can really lean into. Exploring is really the only language that I can think of, which is going to take you down the path of intimate pleasure. I love it. Now, you offer a freebie, Shelby, is that right?
Yeah, I do. So I have, it's an intimacy checklist. So it's a yes, no, maybe list. So you get to pick, you know, I have two, columns in there. One is for emotional intimacy and one is about physical intimacy. So you can, you know, print it off. You could just look at it and assess, like, yes, this is a yes, this is a no, this is a maybe, would I like to give or receive? Those are the options on there. It's very simple. So it can just be something that gives you different ideas, and then you can share it with a partner if you want to. It can be a discussion type of thing. So it's like really, you know, you don't even, you can, obviously I hope that people have a discussion if they're going to print it off and utilize it, but you can also kind of just print it off and like sneak it over here and be like, yeah, here's the thing. Take a look at that.
I love it. I love it. And of course, we are only talking to consenting adults here.
Yeah.
And seek other advice elsewhere. All right. So I'd like to know a little bit more. That's actually on your website. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So it's you have to scroll down a little bit, but it's a part of like my subscription. It will say, you know, here, click here, sign up here, throw your email in, and then you'll click that and a little box will show up to say, okay, here's your free download.
Excellent. Okay. And from my understanding, Shelby, you offer two different techniques of working with you. So one is a one-on-one and the other is a group. Can you maybe talk us through, because out of curiosity, I've done a lot of group work to work through grief and a series of things out the other side, including AA and everything else in between. So I get that, but I'm like, group work for sex. I don't know about that. But like, yeah,
Well,
can you talk about the one-on-one and then talk about the group? I'd just love to know more.
Okay. Yeah. So honestly, they're both basically the same type of thing. If it's one-on-one, we can get more specific and deep and intimate with what it is that you want. But basically, like, the whole program is about building intimacy. And again, I like to say intimacy is not just about the physical like sex. It's about that emotional intimacy. It can be like a spiritual type of intimacy, energetic. It can come in many different ways. So basically what the program looks like is we're working on understanding what it is that, like, knowing what your needs are, knowing what your boundaries are. And for me, boundaries is boundaries and consent if we switch over into the topics of sex. And then we talk about core wounds, like the stories that are coming up for you, nervous system regulation work. So it's a lot of like getting to know yourself and your body without again, you can apply it to sex stuff if you want to, but we're not specifically actually talking about the sex until maybe later on in the program. So it's a 3-month, 12-week program. But we go through a lot of these other things that help to balance us and create healthy communication in our relationships first before we dive into the realm of sex, because we need to know how to have those conversations, and we need to know what we need and what stops us along the way before we can really dive into the super vulnerable world of sex, because that's like the epitome to me of what vulnerability is getting naked with another human. So
yes. And yet I think of the conversations that I have with my friends over cups of tea, and some of them are very graphic. So yeah, I think girls are different. We are quite comfortable to sit and talk about stuff that, you know, I don't know that the boys talk about. So that's good. That's good. But I think that comes from a place of having that relationship with others, that you feel safe, that you can have those conversations. Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. I love it. Yeah. So you offer a group and also a one-on-one. Both of the programs are 12 weeks, and they can find out more of this information on your website. Is that right, Shelby?
Correct. Yeah, yep. They can find more information out there. And then if they want to like listen to me talk or just see kind of the ways that I do a little bit of my coaching, they can check out my, like I've got a YouTube channel. I have my Instagram as well. And so, yeah, you can kind of get a better idea of me by watching, you know, like my reels or my videos and stuff there on either one of those platforms.
I love it. So would you say these are women who are pre-marriage or during marriage or between marriage or perimenopausal? Like, is there a type or an age bracket that people that seek your attention more, or is it just a mixed bag of lollies?
I'd say it's a mixed bag because it doesn't really, to me, I don't see how it really matters where you are within your relationship. Although I think I do have a preference of saying, you know, so I'm 32. I'd say if you're younger than me up to my age, it's probably where like this is the amount of life experience I have thus far, right? So there are going to be things that people that are older than me have experienced that I haven't. So I can still help them, but there will be a difference that way. So I kind of say if you're same age or younger than me, that's about where my age bracket is of like who it is I like to work with.
Yep, no, I get that. I'm 57, so I've got a broader range. There's a lot of people younger than me, and still a lot of my clients are older than me. So I think it's more about the depth of knowledge that you bring on the subject. And let's face it, I don't know very many sex experts. So you sort of stand alone in your own lane of experts there. I love it. All right, so you know, I think if you don't know that you're not having amazing sex, then I don't know, the stuff that you see in the movies can be true for you. And if you're a vaguely interested person, if you're a VIP, please reach out to Shelby. And I love that. Reach out to Shelby, grab the freebie, have a look, because you don't know what you don't know. And it doesn't have to stay the way that it is. There is more. There's so much more. It's all for you. Everyone can have it. And life is a different level of fulfilled when you have that level of intimacy, not just with yourself, but with a partner as well. And it's very fulfilling is the only words that I can actually come up with. It feels complete. Yeah. So yeah, I love it. It's very exciting. I'm looking forward to nosing around in some of your stuff there, Shelby, and recommending you to people that I know need your services. So just in closing today, do you have some words of wisdom that you would like to share with our audience?
Yes, I'd say the most important thing that you can do when it comes to reclaiming your sexuality is to be patient and learn how to create safety within your body for yourself. And if you can do that, and then if you can share that with your people that you're intimate with, again, whether that's an actual romantic partner or just people that you have intimate conversations with in your life, that those emotional connections, that creating safety allows for so much growth and healing. So understanding how to be able to do that is probably the most important thing.
I love that. Now, earlier on in the conversation, you mentioned the nervous system. How does the nervous system relate to the safety aspect?
Well, it's again, those body feelings that we're having. So when we're feeling safe, we are feeling grounded. We're feeling like we want to connect with people. We're creative. We have all these ideas and want to share. Again, it's like we really want to actively connect. But if we're dysregulated, then we're going to feel that anxious energy, or we're going to feel shut down. We're not going to want to connect. We're not feeling creative. We're just kind of feeling very like, how do I survive the day? How do I survive the feelings that I'm feeling, the memories that are coming up, whatever it is that's causing us to be dysregulated. So, yeah, feeling that safety and feeling regulated allows us to connect better and be more open with people.
I love that. This is great information, and I'm looking forward to diving in deeper. Grab the freebie. It's on the website. The link will be in the show notes and the show description. And lean in and have a look at the one-on-one program and the group program, because intimacy, you know, into me, I see. I love that. And it's a great opportunity to get that next level of amazing in your life. And even if you've come to the table with wounds that are still healing, you can still learn to live through this level of intimacy with and without the wounds. It's about moving through that and having that lovely level of awareness. This has been a great conversation. I love it. Over a cup of tea. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you so much for being here and holding the space. If you're listening today and you've got a degree of curiosity about, what would these Pamper Days be like? If you're a survivor of family and domestic violence, please reach out. We can guide you to the dates and times and locations for our events all over the globe. And if you're a practitioner and would like to hold the space for these women to heal, it just looks like turning up on the day. We obviously get things organized beforehand, but you just for that one day, you donate your time and you do your therapy for free for these women, and it just touches their lives. We've got some beautiful stories of women who've come back the following year as an exhibitor, and they might be doing candles or just doing hand massages, but that interaction they've had at that pampering day has lifted their level of self-esteem and self-worth, that they've decided to break the shackles and move forward and lean into the proximity of the other girls and come back the next year as a hero. It just makes me cry every single time. I love these beautiful stories that are now all over the globe. So reach out to Healing Through Love. We'd love to have a conversation with you. That's a goodbye from me and a goodbye from Shelby.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Healing Through Love. You can get further resources, see the show notes, or simply reach out to us via our website at htlaustralia.org. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to your company next time on the Healing Through Love podcast.